squarely focused on the Black community, so that those funds can be provided. So
yeah, because we have a unique experience.
Indeed.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
Mm-hmm.
This is Blair Durham with Black Wall Street Today, your media hub for all things Black entrepreneurship, politics, news, and events in Hampton Roads and beyond.
When I say black, y'all say Wall Street. Black
Wall Street.
Black Wall Street. When I say black, y'all say Wall Street. Black.
And now, here's your host, Blair Durham.
Greetings.
Welcome. It's the 97th edition of Black Wall Street Today with Blair Durham. We're focused today on innovation, and in that regard, we're very excited to have Mr. David Sharp with us. He's the founder and managing partner of the UP Community Fund. He's responsible for the overall management of the fund, which includes deal sourcing and investor relations. David's also founder and CEO of Urban Advisors, a national impact investment consulting firm. Prior to Urban Advisors, David served as the investment manager for Wachovia Bank's Community Development Investment Group, where he grew its investment portfolio from $40 million to $100 million over a 3-year period. The portfolio consisted of private equity, real estate, and private debt investments. David also served as a mergers and acquisitions analyst, leverage vice president of finance, and naval intelligence officer. David earned a BA degree from Morehouse College. Welcome to the show, David. How are you?
Great. I'm doing well. Glad to be here.
I'm glad to have you, and I'm super excited about the Community Fund initiative. So talk to us a little bit about the ways in which your fund is empowering the Black business community.
Yeah, so it's interesting now that there's clearly a lot of focus around Black businesses and entrepreneurs of color. But for those of us who've done this work for a while, these issues
these aren't new issues, right?
These are not. I mean, they're new to a lot of people that may not have been aware in the past, but they're still chronic issues. And so for us, we really started, framing the Up Community Fund really, kind of post Ferguson. And, for us, it was, how can we leverage capital to really, empower people of color and, an African-American community. And so from there, which was a long journey to get to where we're at now, we basically created it's a debt fund, it's working capital, it's growth capital. Because one of the things that's kind of interesting is you would think once a business kind of crosses, $1 million in sales, as an example, most people would think, well, it's smooth sailing from there, right? Getting capital is not a problem anymore. And
not true enough.
I think what you'll find is that regardless of the size of the business, there's still capital constraints. And so for us, we decided to focus on that kind of second tier of business owner to really help them be able to grow, scale, so that they can become job creators, as well as grow their own net worth within their own marketplace, as well as build an ecosystem within our portfolio, which I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about during this call.
Yeah, very exciting stuff. And I love that you kind of contextualized your work in terms of, this not being a new thing, right? I share that sentiment. We got this initiative underway back in 2016, and super excited that it's getting the energy and attention that it has deserved for so long. So grateful again for your work. So talk about how it is. Talk about sort of the deal flow, if you would.
Yeah, so we currently have 16 companies in our portfolio.
Okay.
We've got a $19 million fund. We've deployed about half of that already. We're providing capital to companies from construction / infrastructure, transportation, distribution, healthcare, medical. For us, it was, trying to flag the areas where, folks of color actually were as business owners. There's a lot of focus on tech, and I don't, look, I think tech's great. It's really cool. It's exciting. I heard the gentleman before talking about the app. But I think when you kind of run the numbers and you talk to most African American folks, tech is not something that we really talk about a lot. It's just,
right.
Right.
It's interesting, though, because he's sort of found the intersection between something we don't really talk about much, which is tech, and an area where we tend to be significantly over-indexed, which is beauty, right? And so, wow, bringing those two things together, I mean, I think it's a great opportunity. But
so we would consider that like tech-enabled. Which absolutely makes sense. But for us, the starting point was there are plenty of folks of color who have businesses that are quote unquote revenue cash flow based businesses. They might not be high tech. There are technical aspects to it for sure.
Sure.
But it may not be high tech, and it's like no one was really talking about that segment of the population or that segment of the small business community. And so for us, that's where we decided to focus. So as we look at our deal flow sourcing, we're headquarters in Charlotte, North Carolina, and so Southeast is our geography. We call Southeast from Baltimore to Florida across to Texas, but primarily. Most of our portfolio currently is in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. But, Florida and Virginia become expansion states for us, as we move forward with our program.
Good. I love it. I'm just thinking as well about kind of your sharing that while we may not have X, we do have Y and Z, and those businesses do need support. Now, I'll say, I've been guilty of wanting to develop more tech-based businesses, but really because of the fact that there aren't enough investors that look like us that can kind of recognize the opportunities that we, that we present, if that makes sense. Our market, particularly right here in Hampton Roads, from which this show is broadcast, it's not currently Black startup friendly, or even when you look at that second tier that you talk, it doesn't tend to cater toward that particular audience. So I'm excited to see more entities like yours showing up, not just to provide the capital, but also to provide the education, right?
Exactly.
You're in a great space.
Yeah, and let me share this tidbit. I think it's kind of interesting. As we did a lot of pre-development work before we kind of launched the fund. What was interesting that we found is that again, I went to Morehouse. I guess affiliated with Hampton, so we're it's that college educated community. But what was really interesting though was if you took a step back and said, where are most of the African American oriented businesses? You'll find that there are much more of them in blue collar areas and professions as opposed to white collar.
Right.
So if you ask yourself, so if the question, can I rattle off 5 or 10 white collar businesses that I know in my local community that are white collar focused? It's harder to come up with that list than it is. Can I come up with 5 or 10 blue collar oriented businesses that are led and owned by folks of color? And that was a really kind of eye-opening moment for us, because I think going into it, we thought it might have been the exact opposite. But as we really spent a lot of time talking to a lot of those business owners, we found that it was more folks who might have, maybe they didn't go to college, maybe they went to a trade school, or maybe they just had years of experience in some particular niche, but they've been doing it long enough that they can actually create a business that they can get to $500,000, $1 million or north in terms of revenues. And that was really interesting from just a perspective, an insightful perspective.
Yeah, we are looking finally to launch a fund of our own at the end of November, right? And so that transition of, all right, how do we get the folks that are capital ready in front of investors to, okay, how do we create something that, that's already there, right? Because still, we're sending folks to the wolves in some regard to say, oh, yes, we can validate what you're doing, or no, we cannot, right? And so that's definitely definitely a process. I'll want to chat with you offline about some of the different pieces involved. Kudos to you. 4 years, 16 businesses, 19 million. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, so I can tell you this, right? And it's one of the points that you just asked. I mean, one of the things that we've kind of learned is that point number one, with our vehicle, we're addressing structural racism. And in the Southeast,
head on, right?
And in the Southeast, we know that's very interesting. One of the things that was one perspective that was insightful was, a number of our business owners, at least initially, were like, well, we don't want you to tell the whole world that we're, in your portfolio, because we don't want to put an X on our back, so to speak, or people all of a sudden now that we were able to get capital. It was really kind of a counterintuitive response, but nonetheless, I think it was a response. And I think as a premise for us as entrepreneurs of color, I mean, again, like I tell our team, we're a small business, just like the businesses that we're servicing at the end of the day. And so we go in with the premise that most of those businesses are they're undercapitalized. 1, 2. From a management standpoint, they don't have all the capacity that they need, and then 3, whether it's winning work or finding contract opportunities, etc. They could use some assistance around business development. So we almost go in from day one assuming that that's the premise, which makes it a 7-day-a-week job, 24 hours a day.
Oh my goodness! Yeah.
But if you're gonna commit to really working with this market segment, I mean, again, that's what you have to be willing to do. Yeah. And then one last quick thing I'll add on as well. As we've been going through this work and trying to really look at, well, who are the technical assistance providers?
I was just going to say, like, those needs that you just identified are why we've decided to go in the CDFI direction, right? So that the technical assistance is built in, because we know we're having to do that anyway, right? And so then we get the Treasury certification and we're able to bring in additional dollars that way. I know there's more red tape there, but ultimately we needed a business model that would acknowledge every aspect of the work that, we're going to be having to do.
Yes. We're actually we're just about done with our application, and knock on wood, we'll be submitting it this by the end of this week. So
good, great, because there's going to be more dollars available for that kind of effort as a result of the times that we're living in. So I know in conversation regularly now with lawmakers that are pushing that, because the existing CDFIs are not necessarily meeting that need.
Yes.
So we need ones that are squarely minority focused, and beyond that, squarely focused on the Black community, so that those funds can be provided. So
because we have a unique experience. Indeed. No doubt about it.
Yeah, it's exciting. Exciting to have already been in place, right, prior to now, so that now we can move the ball forward that much further.
No, I agree.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And, as you're looking to expand here in this market, definitely let's stay in contact, let's partner. I know there will be areas of expertise that you have already that we just are not going to have out the gate. So those are things that we'd love to send in your direction for sure.
Yeah, and a big thing for us too within our portfolio that your audience may see a value too is the fact that as we're talking to folks in our portfolio and then really new companies as well. I mean, we're emphasizing the theme of essential services, essential businesses, and essential services. And if we're in a recession/depression, the experts, I guess debate which one it is, but I think one of the things we know is that the economy is not like it was 2 years ago. I think that's a given. And so what we have to all do as business owners and entrepreneurs is really deal and address with this notion of pivoting, or as opposed to focusing so much on this is what I do. It should revolve more around, well, here are the skills and the qualities and attributes that I and my team have.
Correct.
And in what other arenas can we actually apply
Absolutely.
that collective skill set? Because the businesses that are going to thrive and grow are the ones that are going to have the ability to make the pivots and adjustments and not get caught into a certain way of functioning. So we're working actively with our portfolio to just say, hey, look, let's explore other areas because we work really closely with our portfolio. So that's something that I think for the entrepreneurs that are in your audience listening on this call should absolutely be thinking about. It's great that you've got to a certain threshold, but how do you continue to pivot and refine your model so that you're relevant, 1, 2, 3 years down the road?
That's a great point. I often make the generalization that, we enter business a lot of times based on passion. This is a thing that I really love to do, and this is the thing that I do. And so then when the market conditions change, we may simply go out of business, right?
Yes.
But looking at, what are the skills that I've acquired? What are the relationships that I have built? You know what I mean? What are the new things that I can now do to remain an entity? It's definitely an important conversation. I look forward to hopefully having you back on the show. We're out of time. Good grief.
Can I share? Because we one quick thing in before we run out here. I've created we got a workshop coming up called The Wealth Mindset, September 16th from 6:30 to 7:30, and I can send you a link to put up.
Please do.
But one of the focuses for that, just really quickly, is that, everybody's not a business owner. However, everybody needs to have a recalibration of how they look at money, how they think about wealth. The guest before was talking about the concrete points, but the emphasis here is around what's the mindset, because we're around entrepreneurs all the time, and we all have glass ceilings.
You're gonna have to send me the link. We're completely out of time.
All right, cool.
I'm sorry. It's always the fastest hour of my week.
No problem.
It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I definitely will look to have you back on the show when you can. We might be booked to the end of the year, but let's make it happen for early 2021, and I'll definitely make sure I let folks know about what you have coming up on the 16th. And thanks so much for our sponsors, Milestone Mental Health Agency, Apex Financial Group of Virginia, as well as the COO team. And thank you all for tuning in to Black Wall Street today, where we're building minds, we're building connections, and we're forging the path ahead toward business success in the Black community. We'll talk next week.
Hey, this is Seiko. DJ Seiko Varner, the producer of this podcast. So when I'm not producing podcasts, I'm actually DJing wedding receptions, corporate events, proms, other formals, and I would love to take care of your special event. So our company is Positive Vibes Incorporated, www.positivevibes.net. That's www.positivevibes.net. We've been performing for over 25 years, and we would love to bring our expertise and our fun to your special event. Positive Vibes Incorporated, www.positivevibes.net. Peace and prosperity.
Phenomenal. Stay with us online at Black Wall Street Today on Facebook and Black Wall Street Today on Instagram, and then follow us on Twitter as well at BWS Today. We look forward to talking again next week. Have a wonderful week. I have said, and I will continue to say, that the most important priority for the Black community is the Black community, not a particular political party. Phenomenal.
Hey, yo, when I say black, you say Wall Street. Black Wall Street. When I say black,